The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Susan Sweeney, one of the deans at eLearningU, and I'd like to welcome you to today's program, Our Changed World, Things Your Tourism Business Can Do to Pivot and Adapt. I hope you're all doing well. A lot of you working from home, and it's so nice to see how many people are logging in to our 350 recorded courses. It tells me that you're all doing lots of getting ready to open or getting ready for when you're ready. And happy that we've got so many great resources for you in our library. For anybody that's new on the call, we go for about 50 minutes of great content, and then we have about 10 minutes of Q&A. We do our Q&A one of two ways. You can type your question in the question area as we go along, and I'll read those questions out to our expert, Emily, today. Alternatively, if you'd like to speak to Emily directly, just hold your question till we get into the Q&A time period, and then click on that little hand symbol in your control panel that lights up on my screen and lets me know that you want me to unmute you. I'll give you a little heads up. I'll call you by your first name. I will then unmute you. You talk away to Emily and get your question answered. Everybody can hear the question. Everybody can hear the answer. And once your question's been answered to your satisfaction, I will then mute you again and we'll go on to the next question. Emily Washcovic our expert today, has provided a copy of her presentation. It's in the handouts area there. So you can either drag and drop or save file as, depending on which operating system you're using. But it's in the handouts area, so you can have a PDF of today's presentation. And now we'll get on with our program. So our expert today, Emily Washcovic, as Yelp's Chicago-based Senior Field Marketing Manager and Small Business Expert, Emily is responsible for building a thriving network of local business owners, operators, and marketers through education and networking events. Emily provides business owners with resources that help them succeed and grow in the world of online reviews. She's also the local Yelp for Business Owners guru in Chicago. Prior to joining Yelp back in 2014, Emily oversaw guest experience and large-scale event execution at Marriott. She comes from a family of business owners and has a long-standing history of helping business owners learn about the world of online reviews and customer engagement. Emily, we are so happy to have you with us today and really looking forward to your program.
Thank you so much, Susie. I'm excited to be here. And for those of you on the call, I just want to first send my thoughts to you guys. I know these past 6 months have been extremely challenging in a variety of ways. I think for many of us, they've been challenging in our personal life as well as our professional life. And in your industry especially, I know you've been hit pretty hard. So my presentation today is going to be a compilation of a lot of different things. I'm going to hopefully tell some stories that might spark some energy or ignite some ideas in you. And I'll also give some tactical tips and tricks for what you can do right now to market your business, to spread the word, to get things out there that you are trying to promote, and to really connect with customers in a way that they can continue to support your business during these extremely unprecedented times. So as Susie said, I have been with Yelp since 2014. I always tell people to jot down my email address, especially if they have questions they don't want to ask in front of the whole group today. Can always reach out to me. I've been speaking on behalf of the company since 2016. So a lot of random people in the world have my email address, and you certainly won't be a stranger when you pop in my inbox. If I don't know the answer, I'll certainly connect you with someone at our company who does. So jot that down. You can also get it from Susie after the fact. And it's also saved in the PDF version of the slides. So you should have no problem being able to get in touch with me. Before I talk about a lot of the typical Yelp things that I cover when I'm doing a Yelp 101 presentation or helping business owners leverage the free tools on our site as well as other review sites, this time of year right now, I'm actually working to do some big diversity and inclusion initiatives as well. And Travel Unity is an organization and association that I'm teaming up with to host a D&I webinar in a few weeks here. So I wanted to let you guys know about that, but I also wanted to take a few minutes to give you some of the high level call to actions that we're talking about in that webinar, since they are so relevant to this industry. So Travel Unity is a 501c3. They're really focused on increasing diversity in the world of travel through empowering, educating, and supplying resources to businesses that want to implement more diversity and inclusion in their business. And essentially, when I think of D&I and I think of its role, especially in the travel industry, it's all about expanding your target marketing audience, right? And what I mean by expanding your target marketing audience is breaking it down a little bit. So first, let's just all think right now about your business, the business that you work for, own, represent, whatever it may be. Who's the obvious target demographic of this business? If you're a hotel, who is the hotel travel stayer that your actual business serves? Are you guys more for the young professional? Are you really encouraging them to get out and about and experience the city, and the hotel room is just a place to leave the bags? Or is this a big resort? Is the room and the amenities and what's offered on site something that is really driving that customer experience? Maybe you're family oriented. Okay, so that's who you created the business for. That's who majority of your marketing efforts are targeting. That's who your average day-to-day communications are resonating with, right? You probably have that under control. But when we think about the travel industry, we want to be inclusive and open to all in many respects, right? You want to be supportive of people coming and experiencing what you have to offer in this travel experience. So what diversity and inclusivity do you currently cater to, or do you currently attract? Are you already doing some work in the marketing that your business does? Do you already represent a diverse group of customers? And maybe your business was created to specifically serve a certain demographic. Maybe your restaurant was created to serve the authentic meals and cuisines that your ancestors were bringing when they came to America for the first time. What is that demo that you're already hitting on, and how can you expand that to highlight what diversity and inclusivity you have? And then beyond that, how can you actively serve and connect with additional target audiences? And a lot of this last one is all about just being aware, mindful, and staying informed about what some of these underserved groups are and how your business can meet their needs, how your business can be open to them in a way that makes you the obvious choice. So when we're talking about how to get tactical when it comes to D&I, strategies for implementing feedback to serve these diverse needs, I want to first pause and mention that in order to implement feedback, you need to start by listening to it, right? You need to be open to hearing what different experiences people are having with your business, with your city, with your industry, and then adapting to serve them. And I want to make one other thing clear before we go a little bit deeper here. There are some things you are not going to move on, shift on, change, because they are core tenets to who you are as a business. That's not what expanding and being available and open to serve diversity means. You can stay true to your tenets as a business. You can stay true to the authentic nature of what sets you apart, while still considering customers. One example would be disabilities of mobility. So is your business, is your hotel, is your restaurant handicap accessible? Do you have an entry and an exit way that someone in a wheelchair can easily navigate? And if not, do you have an opportunity to make something like that happen in a limited term capacity? Maybe it's a setup that you roll out if you know you have a guest coming who needs that specific thing. But when you're actually starting to implement or be inclusive of diverse customers, there's three main areas that you can take a look at and dive deeper into: visitorship, workforce development, and community impact. So Travel Unity, when they break this out into these three different segments, talks about various elements of these segments. I'm not going to go deep into all of these areas of D&I because that's what that webinar that Yelp is hosting for free for the travel industry is all about. So we'll share that link. If you guys want to attend that, you certainly can. But I wanted to highlight a few very easy to identify and implement on this call before I got into more of the marketing and communication tactics that are going to help you in this specific COVID year that we're living through. So I highlighted here under visitorship, welcoming and fulfilling experiences and partnerships. These are two really easy things to think about today and bring back to your team to start to talk about. Welcoming and fulfilling experiences. You guys already create a welcoming and fulfilling experience. You have a set of standards for how you do that. But I want you to just think of some diversity in your guests and how you could better serve them specifically. So again, maybe we're back to the physically handicapped situation where we're thinking about people in a wheelchair. So not only egress, but easily navigating your actual grounds if you're a hotel. So beyond just getting that customer to check in and to their room, are they actually able to experience and enjoy what your property offers? And then partnerships. Are there people locally that you already maybe work with in some capacity? How can you take knowledge and experiences from what they represent and bring them into your business? So maybe I keep coming back to this concept of hotels, but maybe you have your desk agents already working to send people to certain restaurants or to certain local attractions that really give the experience that you're hoping to bring to your guests. How can you connect with those folks and ask about some of the guests that they serve to ensure that you are a good partner to them, that you are both serving the needs of your most common customers? Let's move quickly to workforce development here. Hiring and pipeline. So a very easy thing to think about today and implement tomorrow is, do you have diversity in your workforce? Do you have diversity in the people coming to the table to talk about how to serve your core customer? Because remember, my opinion as a white female American who grew up in the Midwest is far different opinion from my colleague who is Black, grew up in the Bronx of New York, and now works in our New York office. Her and I, while we work on the same projects, bring a huge difference in diverse experiences that can help us consider our end user. Some who look like me and some who look like her. So if you're bringing that diversity into your workplace, not only does it make your guests feel comfortable seeing themselves reflected in their experience, but it also helps you to be more aware of those different experiences that humans have and how you can anticipate those needs of your customers. In the travel industry, in the tourism industry, it's all about experiences. And by actually thinking about the experiences of varieties of customers, you're able to better become that obvious choice for them. And then the last column I'll go into here is community impact. So I know that in your industry, local culture is very important. You're often going to be the first touch point of experience. Maybe you are a visitors bureau and you're working to market your city out to the rest of the world. Right now, you might not be able to market the same attractions that you do in a non-pandemic society, but there is something still that you can communicate. I know I've been seeing, for example, some different individuals who have places in warm areas. Right now, Mexico is going through a big hit of storms, but a few months ago, they were doing very safe precautions, not only as you were entering some of these hotels, but also doing sprint prices where people were coming at really reduced rates. They were quarantining and still experiencing this very socially distanced hotel, this very different experience than what they're used to. But because of the increase in actual restrictions, there was only a limited amount of customers that they were able to serve anyway. So maintaining those safety precautions, remaining that social distancing, keeping things clean and disinfected, that was all possible. And they're not operating their business the same way they were, but there's still local things that they can highlight. There's still local things that they can communicate to guests who fall into this segment. I'm going to go into one layer deeper to just show some of these areas that Travel Unity helps businesses consider so that they can expand their customer base. This highlighted option here is a very easy first actionable step. Do we show different kinds of people in our marketing? So let's bring it back again to your core audience. If you are a family forward hotel who has a lot of amenities on site, you're a big water park, that is a core demo, right? However, families can look a variety of different ways, not only in ethnicity and religious practices, but also in their day-to-day needs and things that you might service as an destination, as a vacation place. So keep that in mind as you're marketing your business so that people can see themselves in your brand. They can see themselves in your marketing materials, and you are then a choice that they feel comfortable and reflected in. So here's the webinar. If you do want to get into more of a D&I conversation, if you do want to talk about expanding your marketing base specifically and strategically in the diversity and inclusion space, join myself and Travel Unity on September 15th. This is a free webinar, and we'll be going even deeper into some of these things to help you determine not only how you can get certification for diversity and inclusion in your business, but also how you can be mindful and conscious to incorporate these things in your day-to-day practices as marketers, to do these things in a long-term approach and process that will help grow your customer base exponentially. So now let's transition a little bit into this third and final element, which is going to be all about communicating your business. And during COVID, during these past 6 months, we've taken a concept that we've always stood true to, which is that you need clear, concise, and consistent messaging for your customers. And we've really shaped this concept to be all about COVID. Right now, COVID requires additional and clear communication to your customers. They don't know what to expect. They don't know what is still available to them. And you need to be delivering that information, whether it's pointing them to possible transactions or just setting them up for a future experience with your business. So again, when it comes to communicating and being effective on the web and on online review platforms, it's all about that concise and consistent message. It's about spreading it across all platforms. So on your website, on your Instagram, on your Facebook, if you have a Google My Business page, if you have a Yelp page, if you have a TripAdvisor page, these are all places where we want to be saying and reinforcing the same message about our business. This last bullet point here is really become true in the pandemic, and that's being real, honest, and vulnerable. So especially on social media, now is the time to let people behind the curtain, show them what you're going through right now, and also show them what you're doing to prepare for business again in the future, to prepare for their next return. Let's go a little bit deeper on this clear, concise, and consistent message. You might be thinking, I have so much to tell them, I don't even know where to begin. How do I keep it concise? Hours of operation, that is going to be first and foremost. Are you open right now? What are you offering? I know a lot of businesses have cut things down. A huge barbecue industry restaurant that I work with out of San Diego has cut their menu down by 90%. They've more than tripled their month-over-month sales to last year for the previous 3 months. And they've done that by getting tight on offerings and directly communicating what's available day in and day out, over and over and over. Special safety measures, okay? We need to talk about this especially because here's the reality. there is a core group of individuals that are no longer going to feel safe traveling for the foreseeable future. Okay, they're not going to go anywhere unless they are sure that the staff is wearing masks, unless they are sure that you are sanitizing heavy traffic areas, and unless they are sure that everyone else is going to be socially distanced while they're in the business. So if you are taking those precautions to keep your staff safe and to keep your customers safe, you want to be communicating that. You want to let them know. Now let's talk about transacting. These people, if they're on your website, if they're on your TripAdvisor page, if they're looking at your social media, they want to know how to get in contact or make a purchase. That's why they're looking at you. They're interested, right? Let's not lose them. This mobile device is a huge game changer. You need to be mobile friendly and meeting them on mobile. And I don't mean that you need to create an app, okay? Use existing platforms. So again, on Yelp, having all of your information accurate and updated is going to help you be a relevant result for those people looking for what you do. On Instagram, that's where a lot of your customers are spending their free time right now. So if you have a message to share about offerings, you should be doing it with frequency on social media. And then virtual offerings. If you are doing some sort of virtual offerings, maybe you were an experience provider and now visits have come to a complete screeching halt. I have a tour company in Chicago that I work with. They do walking tours, boat tours, and bus tours all throughout Chicago. Since St. Patrick's Day weekend, when everything went into shutdown, they've launched virtual tours. They have free virtual tours, they have paid virtual tours, and they even allow you to plan private virtual tours with friends, family, colleagues. They are creating an offering that serves and creates a brand new stream of revenue for them. They can now not only cater people who are going to physically be in Chicago, but anyone around the world. You have an offering through virtual that I'm sure you can provide. You just need to think about what existing platforms exist for you to get out there, and then how can you communicate those virtual offerings? So when we're talking about this clear, concise, and consistent messaging, or as I like to call it, the COVID message, we are getting down to the core facts, okay? This is a perfect example, the Monk's Kettle. This is a restaurant and bar that's in New York, and on every platform of theirs for the first few weeks of COVID, they kept posting the same thing over and over again with a new image. We're open daily, 1 to 10 p.m. for takeout and delivery. At the restaurant, we're offering our entire beer, wine, and cider list at retail prices and 10% off food. For delivery, we're available on Caviar, Uber Eats, Postmates, Grubhub, DoorDash. Visit our website for gift cards. That tells me everything I need to know. It tells me when they're open. It tells me if there's something that I can save money on depending on what I might be needing right now. And it tells me every possible platform I can connect with them. And that's going to be the key to success. Giving people multiple ways to connect and spend with you, meeting your customers at their comfort levels, and then taking them to that transaction point. So pointing them to where they need to go to complete a purchase. Let's talk quickly about Pies and Thighs. This is a business out of New York. They are a staple home-cooked restaurant that is pretty commonly busy on the weekends as well as for brunch, but they're a huge catering company, okay? A big chunk of their business was impacted because of all the canceled weddings and events. So they had a huge hole that they needed to make up for. For the first time ever, they got on delivery platforms. They had never been available for delivery in New York before. They took on a lot of delivery platforms in the first few weeks and then quickly needed to get off of a few that did not work for their business model. And they continued to give updates on Instagram, on their Yelp page, on their Facebook page, letting people know new platforms have been added for delivery, platforms have been removed. They also started selling large batch cocktail, wine, beer items. So if you have a liquor license, if you are a hotel, if you are a restaurant, if you are a destination, see if there's a way that you can serve that food or beverage to your local community. Even while you might be a visitor's destination, you have a local clientele right now that you can hit on. And something we're seeing as a huge trend is A lot of these visitor destinations are now becoming extended stay destinations. So people who work from home or who do not need to be located near their business for the foreseeable future are finding ways to get to those warmer places, to get to those destinations and be safe and remain socially distanced when they do arrive. So if you're offering up anything that could meet their needs, whether it's someone that lives permanently in your area or would be the type of visitor you would see in a non-COVID environment, drum up that opportunity and try to meet them where they are. Okay, I'm going to talk tactically here about a few things, not only on Yelp, but on other platforms that you can do. And I want to go with the same theme that we've been teaching for these first 25 minutes, okay? Everything that I'm talking about, while I might show you a step-by-step way to do it on Yelp or to communicate it on Yelp, I want your key takeaways as the business owner, as the marketing manager, as the one executing social media, that these same rules apply across all platforms. So on Yelp, there is a COVID-19 banner update on every business page. If you're familiar with Yelp, it's very similar to our holiday banners. So if you were to open the Yelp app on your phone on Memorial Day of any given year, it would tell you it's Memorial Day, make sure that this business is open for its standard operating hours. Right now, you'll see a COVID-19 banner. This COVID-19 banner is modifiable by all businesses. So we encourage businesses to log in and actually say whatever they want to the customer on this banner. It's going to be the most prominent thing that is displayed when someone is looking at your business page, whether that's on mobile or desktop. So having that clear, concise message in that banner is going to really help direct the customer to where you want them to go. All right, so let's talk about Yelp specifically now. I want to talk about these free tools that are available for you guys. They're always available. They've been available, and I hope that you've already been leveraging some of them. But I'm going to give you some tips and tricks for how to do them with the most efficiency and value. That's also going to teach you about SEO practices on the web in general, okay? So if you don't already have a business page on Yelp, you can add any business to Yelp by visiting biz.yelp.com. It's free to do. You'll also visit biz.yelp.com to claim an existing business page. So that's a very important site to remember, biz.yelp.com. We also have a business owner's app. It is different than our consumer app. So that Yelp app that you use to look for restaurants and plumbers and auto mechanics, that's red. The business owner's app is blue, and you can search for it in the Google Play or the Apple Store by looking up Yelp Biz, B-I-Z as in zebra. And that's a great app, especially for those of you who are business owners who are not frequently at a computer, but you're more mobile. This will allow you to respond to reviews, to update things like your hours, to really stay on top of that business listing from the palm of your hand. All right, so let's talk about these free tools on Yelp that are going to help get you good visibility. And you know what? I don't often do this, but I'm going to do it right now just for the sake of it. Let's say you go to google.com and you are looking for hotels in Palm Springs. I'm making up a random search. You see all these ads here, right? Google is always going to have a pretty big ad block at the top of any search. And then you're going to notice we've got TripAdvisor, we've got hotels, we've got Expedia. All of these sites, including your Yelp page, your TripAdvisor, your social media, they are showing results based on the keywords and information that you have that's relevant, okay? So completing your profile on Yelp, completing your profile on TripAdvisor, having your about section filled out on social media, that is going to help you appear in those search results that people are doing. Whether they start on Google, they start on Yelp, they start on TripAdvisor, that's what's going to help them find you. So when you log into biz.yelp.com, what you're going to see here is your activity screen. That's very interesting information. It'll tell you not only who's been looking at your Yelp page, but if they've taken additional steps like clicking through to your website, calling your business, mapping directions. But more importantly, we're going to want to navigate to the business information tab, okay? When you go to that business information tab, you're going to want to first verify the name is correct, the address is correct, the phone number. If you are, for say, example, a tour guide company and you don't have a brick and mortar, you can always include your city and zip code and then indicate the service area that you actually work within. So if you are doing tours, where do those tours take you? You're going to want to be in up to 3 categories. Categories help you appear in searches. So that's the first thing that's going to determine if you are a good fit for what a consumer is looking for at the time. Hours are going to be extremely important as well. Hours are going to help for when people look for specific things. So let's say, for example, you are a venue. Hours are going to want to display when you're open for business, when you're willing to work with customers. And right now, if you are currently closed due to COVID, you can make your business page temporarily closed. You can have a banner on there that says that you are temporarily closed, but you are planning to return open, and even indicate your return open date if you have one. All right, this is going to be one of the most important sections here. So in the business information section, after you make sure all of that basic stuff is up to date and accurate, you need to fill out your specialties, history, and meet the owner section. So in these sections, this is where you're talking about what's serving, what is setting that experience at your business apart for this customer. And in this section, you want to think about what you're known for, right? The keywords and phrases you include here help you appear in search results. A great example is this. If I do a search on Yelp for Mexican food and my partner does a search for fish tacos, we're going to see relatively similar search results. However, the search for fish tacos is going to prioritize business pages with reviews, photos, or about the business information that is specific to offering fish tacos. So think about what your fish taco is. Who is that core demographic, or who is that individual or group of individuals that you serve and are trying to capture? How can you put the keywords and phrases relevant to what they need here? And something that's fun to do as you're filling this out is to look at some of your competitors. Go look at their Yelp pages, go look at their websites, go look at their social media and see what keywords or phrases they're hitting on. Is that something you want to elaborate on? Is that something you want to stay away from? Photos are extremely important when it comes to your digital presence, whether that's on Yelp, on social media, on your website. But on Yelp, you want to have at least 10 photos. We know business pages with 10 or more photos have 12 times more customer leads. So to add your photos, you're going to log in again to biz.yelp.com, whether you're on a desktop or on the mobile app. You'll see that Photos and Videos tab. And for the photos, you want to make sure you upload images of your staff, of the business. If it's a hotel or a brick and mortar, show us what that looks like. Give me a feeling of the vibe of the business. If you are an experience provider, show me what that experience looks like in a typical mode, and also show me images during COVID. If you are doing socially distanced opportunities, if you are putting barriers in place to actually separate your customers and allow their experiences to be pretty mono in what they're doing, show all of those things. But those images of the people, those images that give us a sense of what we're going to experience when we walk through the front door, are the ones that really resonate and hit well with consumers. We can't talk about Yelp without talking about responding to reviews, and this is on any platform, whether that's Yelp, TripAdvisor, or even if you're getting feedback in a non-traditional manner, for example, on your social media, you want to respond to these reviews. And I want to start first by talking about critical reviews. Most business owners, most marketing managers, they tell me, the reason we don't engage with Yelp, or the reason we steer shy of TripAdvisor, is because we're afraid of the negative reviews. And on Yelp, nearly 80% of the reviews positive. There's more 5-star reviews than 1, 2, and 3-star reviews combined. So being afraid of those negative reviews, while I understand and I empathize with how hard that experience is, I also want you to shift your mindset and think of negative reviews as an opportunity, as a marketing moment where you can reflect your customer service practices. So let's look at critical reviews in 3 different subcategories. Legitimate. Sometimes something happens. And in the travel and tourism industry, you guys know better than anyone, expectations are high. When I managed the front office of a Marriott, I was constantly dealing with upset guests for the silliest of things, like the linens in their room weren't as soft as they expected. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, and I'm sure you've dealt with it before. If there is a legitimate thing that happened where their experience was subpar, it was not what you often provide, own up to that. Responding to those reviews publicly and saying, we're very sorry we missed the mark, and here's what we're doing to make it better next time, can really go a far way. You're not necessarily responding for that reviewer. You're responding to reflect to all potential customers how you handle consumer feedback. And also, businesses that respond to reviews publicly oftentimes see less negative reviews on their page. That makes sense from a human and psychological standpoint, right? If I'm a customer and I know that you're going to respond to my feedback and make it better, I'm far more likely to bring it directly than to put it on social media or online. Inaccuracies are something you're going to want to address. And most often I see these in things like a seasonal promo being misdescribed by a customer. So sometimes they're not even meaning to give inaccurate information, but you have to give some clarification. A public response is a great way to do that. We've all met negative Nancy's before, so if you're identifying something as a rant or a rave, take a closer look. On Yelp in particular, you can click on the reviewer's name. You can see a breakdown of all the reviews they've written on our site and decide if maybe this isn't worth getting into a back and forth dialogue about. Positive reviews are a great marketing opportunity as well. So if you're getting positive reviews and you want to reinforce or reiterate something that they shared, use that public comment to do it. It'll help you appear more in search results. If you have nothing to add or you're getting a high volume of reviews or feedback and you want to just send quick thank yous to everyone, it's better to do that as a direct message. That way you don't look quite as canned or like you're coming off as repetitive. It still looks genuine to that individual reviewer, but it's not repetitive to everyone else looking at the front end of your page. Before we move on and wrap up talking about reviews, I want to remind you that the best case scenario as a business owner, even when you're dealing with a negative review, is to take a minute, pause, and take a deep breath. If you need to take a few hours to step away and return, you should do that. Take the high road. You never want to meet this person where they're at and put into question your authenticity or professionalism as a business owner. And then take comfort in knowing that you cannot please 100% of people 100% of the time. And oftentimes in many studies done, not only by Yelp, but by many other online institutions, it's been found that perfect 5-star ratings are not what consumers want to see. Especially if you're doing high volume, you're going to get a handful of negative reviews. It's more about how you handle those moments than about getting them in the first place that will help your business succeed. Let's shift gears here and talk a little bit beyond communicating your core messages to how you can continue to expand your customer base beyond just engaging online. So collaborations and shareable experiences are going to be a great way to expand your customer base, to reach more people, and to create opportunity right now where maybe you're not seeing as much common opportunity as you would in a non-COVID world. First, I really want to challenge you to leverage and engage your social media. Challenge yourself to post at least twice a week, but in these times, definitely more with reliable and trustworthy content that you can share. Sometimes it's not even about you or your business, but about interesting topic that your customers would enjoy. Think about the email lists that you have and the physical experiences. Also think of traditional messaging methods that have worked. So something I want to talk about here is if you have partners in your community that you normally send your customers to or you share your customer base with, Those are people to reach out to right now and see what they've been doing to engage folks during coronavirus. See how you can share and spread each other's messages to hopefully reach more people during these challenging times. Here are some great examples from the very early days of COVID of collaborations coming together and being shared more on social media in a way that spreads the word. We had a lot of businesses doing cocktail kits and a lot of businesses as well that were really partnering with other local vendors to accomplish some sense of normalcy in this very scary time for people. There was a local bakery that sells take and bake pizza. They were teaming up with a bar down the street and selling kits and combinations of family pizza meals and pre-baked cocktail batches. On the bottom right there are some kids' Corona kits. They were able to design and decorate their own donuts. Anything that you can do that maybe gives that shareable experience at home that people are missing out on. So something very cool we've been seeing in some of the travel industry is reaching out to guests that had pre-booked experiences and doing something fun that engages that audience. If you are a restaurant, for example, or you're able to serve the local community in a way you might have previously served visitors, take the time to use and leverage social media to show what your experience looks like right now. This is a great example of a barbecue chain that we work with. They had their own employees go through the process of ordering on their phone, signing up when they were arriving in the parking lot, saying they were there to get their order, and then documenting how the employees safely brought the orders out to their car. So any of this content that you can show customers that gives them examples of how they can engage and support your business are going to play really well on social media during this time. I love showing this image as just a way to motivate people. This is that barbecue joint I was telling you about in San Diego. Every single one of these posts has pretty much the same information, but they're using watery, eye-catching images to catch the attention of their customer. So they're telling them how to order, they're telling them where to go, and they're highlighting that the entire menu has changed to family style. So don't expect what you saw on the menu when you would come in pre-COVID, but expect to get that same high quality, and here's how you can order immediately. So keep those posts coming, keep that information out there, and continue to reach out and connect with customers who are already missing out on what they would have had with you in person. All of those pre-booked individuals and customers are just as sad for the loss of their experience as you are to not have them at your business. Health, safety, and physical spaces. Communicating your efforts and showing this on social is incredible. Illustrating the proactive things that you're doing is what will make you an option and a first choice for most people. Keep it fun and interesting, and don't hide it. So this is an example of fitness studios that are putting social media images out there to communicate to customers, hey, we are open and we want you to feel safe coming to our studio. We have a ton of resources on the Yelp blog. These resources are a mix of going through some of the things I covered today about free tools you can utilize and leverage to spread the word about your business, but also provides links to things like how to get FFA funding, ways that you can implement social distancing in your business, a lot of really rich content on there, and even information about how to create an SEO strategy, how to put together a marketing mix of free and digital paid options. And at the end of the day, right now is the time to look around and be inspired by what other people are doing and continue to communicate what you're doing. So if you are offering any specific services to help or contactless pickup, these are the things you want to put on your website, put on your social media, and on Yelp, you can just log in and check that you provide one of these offerings, and you will instantly be added to those lists when consumers are searching for those specific needs. Bringing it back here to anyone who is in the tours or experiences segment, If you were doing in-person experiences that can no longer be done due to COVID, think about if there's a virtual option. I've seen a lot of virtual wine tastings. I've seen a lot of virtual do-it-yourself at home things such as painting or flower arranging, things you would have never thought of before. So if you have an ability to transition to virtual, don't only do that, but then shout from the rooftops that you have a virtual offering, because that will create a whole new segment of customers for you. The last thing I want to talk about on Yelp here specifically is the coronavirus safety measures. So if you are doing things like limited capacity, staff wearing gloves, contactless payment, you can indicate that on your Yelp page, and there are a lot of consumers who are searching for these safety measures to ensure that they are going to and supporting businesses that are taking care of and proactively thinking about their health. Just a little inspiration for you guys. It can be fun and cute to do social distancing in your business. You can come up with very low cost ways to put markers on the floors, to create homemade barriers between guests. We have seen so many inspirational and out of the box ideas, and all you need to think about is your core demographic and what is going to resonate or speak with them. Again, I want to bring it back to all of the pre-booked travel plans, trips, exciting things that people had planned at your businesses and in your cities. How can you re-engage and reactivate that excitement in a virtual world? They're just as sad to miss the experience as you are to miss the business. And there's an opportunity there for you to meet them and reinvigorate an opportunity for them to spend. All right. I'm going to hand it back to Susie to run our Q&A for me, but I did want to throw my email up on the screen again, EmilyRW@yelp.com. You can always reach out to me with any Yelp questions you have or don't feel comfortable asking today. And then also visit blog.yelp.com. I really encourage you to check that out. There's a ton of resources there, and many of them are going to be Yelp or marketing or digital or SEO related, but some of them are just business resources that you might find extremely helpful given what you're all going through during these challenging times. So with that, Susie, I'll hand it back to you to run the Q&A.
Thanks so much, Emily. Fabulous presentation. Really appreciate it. I love the virtual wine tasting. My girlfriends and I have been doing lots of that during COVID. We have these the FaceTime get-togethers, and we always have our glass of wine. We have to make sure we plan it after 5, but it's always 5 o'clock somewhere, I guess.
That's right.
For anybody that joined us late on the call, we do our questions one of two ways. You can type your question in the question area, and I will read those out to Emily. Alternatively, if you'd like to speak directly to Emily, just click on that little hand symbol on the control panel. It lights up on my screen and lets me know that you want me to unmute you. I'll give you a heads up, call you by your first name, and let you know that I'm going to unmute you. Once I unmute you, you can speak directly to Emily, and everybody can hear the question, everybody can hear the answer. Once you've finished, we finished with your question, I'll mute you again and we'll go on to the next one. Next week, we've got It's Not Rocket Science, It's Personality Science. And the title might be a little bit misleading. It talks about the science behind how to influence and identify your prospects. It talks about artificial intelligence that improves authentic communication and social media prospecting. So make sure that you register for that for next week. We've got a few new organizations or areas on the call today. Asheville is one for sure, and we've got lots of attendees on today from Asheville. So welcome, so happy to see you here. Asheville is actually one of my favorite places on the planet. I've spoken there a number of times at the Governor's Conference, and remember so fondly the Grove Park Inn and the wonderful spa there. It's just amazing. But in any case, for the new people and for the people that are all the people that are online, I get this question a lot. How do we access the recorded courses? We've got 350 recorded courses. So you just go back to the promotion piece that you got from your DMO, and there's a little section there. It says, want to access our 350 plus recorded courses? There's a green Get Started button. When you click there, you'll get your own user ID and password. You can log in anytime and get access to the courses. To the recorded courses, they'll start immediately as soon as you choose one in the recorded courses section. And also an easy way to register for upcoming courses. You can wait till you get the promotion piece, but you can at any time go into eLearning U into the upcoming courses area, and you can use your coupon code for any of the courses that are registered there. And if you're a DMO, or if your DMO is not offering these courses and you'd like to see that happen, please send me an email, Susan@eLearningU or Susan@susansweeney.com. So now let's get into our questions. First question, how can we appear at the top of the Yelp results when someone searches things to do in Asheville or hotels Asheville?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it's going to come back to all of the keywords and phrases that you have to complete your profile. So when you're filling out that business description or history, you want to talk a little bit about what you offer in that hotel segment, right? So fill out that about the business section, probably with the same keywords and phrases you have in your about section on your website, for example. So whether your hotel has a spa in it, if you have a restaurant in it, if you're located in a certain neighborhood within Asheville, those are all great things to include in there. And then also the other things that Yelp is going to be looking for in addition to relevant keywords on the page is the reviews that you have. So we always recommend that you do not ask for reviews. Our software actually works against solicited reviews or reviews that are asked for, but doing things like having a link to your Yelp page on your website or in the email signature of your employees is a great thing to do. And it shouldn't just be Yelp, right? On your website, you also want to have links to your social media. You want to have that in your email signature as well. And we also see people sharing their reviews sometimes. So whether that's reviews for your hotel on Yelp or TripAdvisor or whatever it may be, sharing those and acknowledging that you read and appreciate reviews on your social media will oftentimes help get a little bit more feedback on the Yelp page, which will help impact how often you're showing up in those results as well.
Great. Next question. How should businesses handle poor reviews left on Yelp or elsewhere because they told a customer to wear a mask?
That is a really good question, you guys. So the first thing I always recommend is to respond publicly to any review. And especially these reviews, you need to remember that while that individual is upset and their expectation wasn't met, a vast majority of your potential customers are going to be glad that you took that stand and were on that side of safety and security. So by responding to the message and saying, thank you so much for your feedback. We're sorry that you don't feel wearing a mask is a safe option, it's a good option, but for our staff, their safety is our utmost concern. I think just having a standard statement of how you're going to respond to that in a professional business manner will really just put into question that reviewer. And I think that applies to other things as well when it relates to things beyond just the masks. Let's say there's a customer, this is actually a great example. We have a business here in Milwaukee that does axe throwing, shuffleboard, a lot of those fun and engaging games, and they don't allow you to do one-armed axe throws. For the safety of everyone, they require two hands. And there was a review saying that they were upset about that. The business responded and said, we're sorry you feel that way. We prioritize the safety of all of our guests, and requiring two hands is what keeps them all safe, no matter what activity they're partaking in at our business. And so it's the same sentiment there, right? Safety, while some subset and while it's oftentimes small, might not appreciate that, a vast majority is going to be very glad and appreciative to see that that's something that you prioritize and take care of.
Gotcha. There's an interesting one on Cape Breton Island in Nova Scotia, where it was a small boutique gourmet restaurant that was, very lovely and quaint and lots of candlelight and they had an incident where somebody let their young kids, run around and that kind of thing. So they banned children from the restaurant, and
Yeah.
and so there was a lot of press about it. But a lot of people who like to get out for a romantic night or a quiet night out really appreciated their stand on that. And business just went up
Absolutely.
as a result. So interesting. Hmm.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's a great point. There are some things that are worth standing firm on and reasserting. And then, there are some times where maybe you can't make that strong of a change or a statement. But when it is available to you, it can oftentimes have very positive after effects as well.
Sure. Next question. Can you share more on the Travel Unity certification?
Yes, absolutely. So Travel Unity is a 501c3. That certification that they put together is really there to help businesses critically in the process of becoming more open to diversity and inclusion. So they believe that certification is a great way to express externally that you are actively working in these measures, but they also believe that certification isn't necessary to do this effectively. So they're all about education. They're all about giving you the free tools to implement some of these strategies within your business. But the certification is there and available as a way to really just add that layer of credibility to yourself as you're continuing to do this work and take this work into your business and as a part of your business plan. So certification is what they kind of use as their guiding North Star to institute change and action within a business, but they also don't believe that that's the only way to create diversity and inclusion in your business. So if you are interested in that and you want more info, but you're not able to make our webinar, shoot me an email and I can still connect you with the founder, Ronnie Weiss. He's always happy to talk to people and see what sort of support they can provide, even if it's not a certification.
Okay, great. Next question. Thank you, Emily. Excellent. How would you recommend businesses build an accessible venue? Example, accessibility audits, post information about their audits.
Yeah, really good question. So, if we're talking about physical accessibility, I think one big step is to reach out or get the feedback of someone who needs that accessibility. So, it's always going to be easier to get information from the source, right? To understand those different things you need to put in place to meet those accessibility needs from the end user. So that would be my first bit of advice is when you're thinking about what sort of accessibility you want to be inclusive of, reach out and see if there's someone who can give you that firsthand knowledge and experience. And then I think when you have taken those measures and you are a place that is open and friendly towards those accessible needs, that is something you should communicate loud and proud. So whether that's in images on your social media, in images on your Yelp page, or just in general, as you're giving updates about your business, maybe if you send a newsletter, that can be a highlighted area that you come back to time and time again. You could even start in the beginning by making a statement about how you're working towards creating accessibility for a certain subset of people, and then update your audience of individuals as that process happens. So I think it's about getting the right information and feedback from trustworthy sources, and then taking the extra step to communicate that you've done those things so that you are an obvious choice for those individuals.
Sure. Okay. Next question. Is there a way to add a short clip or video to a Yelp account to entice viewers to want more information about a business?
Yep. So you can upload videos through your Yelp user account. So if you're looking at the front end of your Yelp page, you can add photos or videos at any time. Through the business owner's account, we allow unlimited photos. However, videos through the business owner's account are typically updated as an ad feature. So again, if you want to add those short video clips, we allow under 30 seconds to be uploaded as a user. If you want to upload video footage as a business owner or through the business account, that would be more of that adversarial video footage. So more of a minute, minute and a half clip that's more of an ad as opposed to just information, updates, or images of your business.
Okay. Next question. How important are specific keywords in our profile? And are there specific fields that are more important for keywords than others?
Yeah, so keywords are going to be really important for the goods or the services that you offer. So I always recommend if you go to yelp.com and put your location in, Search for what you think a consumer searches for before they find your business. Yelp will show you the most common searches with those few letters given the location you're searching in. So you can see what the most common keywords are. And also look at those business pages that do similar things to you. See what categories they've added themselves into. See what sort of keywords they highlight on their listing. There's really nothing wrong with looking at some of those other pages and taking inspiration or ideas from there. But the biggest thing is going to be to figure out what category you're supposed to be in and then apply reinforcing information about that category that you're serving.
Great. Somebody's asking about the PDF. You can have a copy of today's presentation. Just go, number one, to the handouts area. You can drag and drop or save file as. You can also send Emily an email to request a copy of the presentation. Her email address is on the screen. And you also have access to the recording of today's program at any point in time. It's usually up online, in 24, 48 hours. And then you've got access to it in the recorded courses area on eLearningU. Next question. Is there an advantage to editing and updating my Yelp profile frequently?
Good question. I always say that you don't need to update the Yelp page frequently like you should social media. However, if there's new information to share, for example, you have a new offering, you have a seasonal trend, then I would log in and I would add more images with captions. But it's not like a social media where you're going to continue to get additional search traffic every time you do an update. Now on social, you're going to want to update that with some frequency. That's going to only be valuable as often as you're engaging with it.
Okay, now I'm down to the last two questions. So if anybody's got anything that they'd like to have covered during the program, please get it in now. Next question, fish tacos, seafood. How important is it to be specific on Yelp, or is Yelp smart enough to recognize fish tacos is seafood?
If you are a restaurant that has any menu, you should have images and descriptions of your menu items on your Yelp page. So if you have, fish tacos as one of your menu items, you want to have at least an image of those with that name. Big reason for that is so many consumers these days know what they're eating before they get to said restaurant. So having those images on your page with easy to identify names of what they're looking at will convert many of your potential diners faster than you would think. So I would always encourage you to at least have those images and captions with the names of those items. However, Yelp's umbrella categories do have search terms under them. That's how it works. It has a ton of applicable keywords and phrases that fall under every category. So for example, Italian restaurant is going to have a lot of keywords and phrases that are applicable under it. But the more of those keywords and phrases that you have on your page, the more relevant you are in those searches. So it really is about you adding that information in addition to having it fall naturally under a keyword search for a category.
Okay, and the last question, unless someone gets one in real quick, is what interesting ways have you seen businesses encourage reviews and photo uploads from customers?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is mirroring what you want them to do. So I have a big restaurant group here in Chicago. They oftentimes, little do the consumers know, but for them, they have their marketing girls go to each of the restaurants, order fun items, and take cool pictures of those items to upload them to social. And if you have a featureable item, an Instagrammable item, an area of your business that's very photo worthy, an area of the hotel that has a cool photo op, show that that's something that you think is worthy of being shared on social, and you'll start to see that behavior replicated by your customers. I think there's also something to be said for continuing to promote and push the content from those platforms. So as a place that receives reviews, no matter what platform it's on, share those reviews to your social media. Let people know that you read them, because then they're more likely to share them. I've even seen hotels and tour businesses display their reviews in the business itself. So maybe when you're going into that location to meet for the tour group, or you're walking into a hotel lobby or an Airbnb entryway, you're seeing a wall of the favorite reviews or the best stories that people have shared after their stay.
Excellent, excellent. Well, that brings us to the end of our questions, the end of our program. Emily, thanks ever so much. Fabulous webinar. Really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks everybody for attending. Hopefully we'll see you next week. It's not rocket science, it's personality science. And that's going to cover the science behind how to influence and identify your prospect and artificial intelligence that improves authentic communication and social media prospecting. Again, if you haven't already gotten your own user ID and password to access our 350 recorded courses, just go back to the promotion piece that you received and go to the section, want to access our 350 recorded courses. There's a green Get Started button. That's where you'll get your own user ID and password so you can log in anytime you want at elearningu.com and access any of our courses. And I'm seeing tons of thank you, great information, great presentation. So thanks everybody for attending. We'll see you next week. Stay safe. Bye-bye, Emily. Bye, everybody.